Hello, hello. Okay, we are live. We are going live. And welcome to my Tuesday at 5 Eastern time. So that makes it, what time does that make that? 4 o'clock Central time. And I don't know, Mountain time is 3 o'clock. So we just go on down the scale there. Hey, thank you for joining. Come on in, say hello. Post your name in the comment, or at least tell me where you're from, because that's always the fun thing, is to see where everybody is from. It's good to have you here today. What I'm going to be doing is working on something for my art journal, and I'm going to take you through that here in just a second. Give people a few more minutes to join us, and let me go over here to this one. Let's make sure we've got all that going good. All right. Well, it says, hi, how are you? It's good to have you. You are from Falls Church, Virginia. Falls Church, Sandra. It's good to have you here. Thanks for joining me. All right. I'm just got going in several different places. And so I'm just seeing, I think I haven't quite mastered the Instagram whole thing yet, but as far as going live on there, let me share with you really quickly. We are going to be doing a page here that I'm going to be putting in my art journal. Hi, Joni. Thanks for showing up. I'm glad you're here. I was actually, Joni, I was thinking about moving this to later in the day. And I thought about you and I thought, oh my goodness, that poor lady, I'll have her totally confused if I go changing times again. I started at noon, then I moved it to, which is 4 o'clock Central time, 5 o'clock Eastern. And plus it gives me time to visit with you and still take care of family's dinner. So anyway, let me go ahead and instead of taking up your time chatting, let me tell you something. Okay, hold it. I've got my screens here and it's confusing me. There we go. This page that I'm going to be creating for you and for myself, do what works for you. Thanks, Joni. This page I'm going to be creating today is I wanted to do something. I've been working on a project here that actually my art sisters have access to, a library that's full of affirming phrases, positive phrases, and that are strong affirming phrases, and just different things to kind of get the mind when it starts getting stressed to anchor in on, to anchor those thoughts on. And so they have access to a library called Creative Reminders that I've given to them. And I decided I'm working on opening it up to the public, also those that are interested in getting to know it. But I like to, for myself, create every day some kind of a little routine where I get my day going and I incorporate those creative reminders. I am a religious person, so I incorporate scripture and prayer and the creative reminders and just a few things that help me to get a kickstart to the day and get going, so that I don't get stressed out on everything else that can be around us. So had fun. I think this is going to be a fun project to do. We're going to do it on a piece of watercolor paper. So if you have some watercolor paper and you want to join in with me, let's see, what size is it? I want to say it's a 5x7. Usually I use the 4x6, but this is a 5x7. Just pull out your watercolors. This is going to be something really simple. Where's my leaves? I had those, I gathered up. I went out to the yard and I just picked up some little leaves here that are off the ground. And it's interesting because I've heard artists say that, somebody said that their sister stopped creating because she didn't feel like she could draw. And so because she couldn't draw, she loved art, but she stopped creating and painting and that. And so I really emphasize, don't let that be your hindrance, because I know many artists, including myself, we put templates in, we supply templates and that. But talk about a wonderful template right there. just that I went out and gathered these up. I wanted to make something super simple that can be easily done, easily done. Um, let's see. Lynn Track. What I don't know what that means, Joni. Can you explain what you're saying there? What does that mean? And I'll keep an eye on that. Welcome to those others that are still coming in. It's good to have you. We are working on a journal page. So let me go ahead and I'm going to take myself off of the screen here. I'm going to move you down to my table, and we're going to, I prepared this earlier today here just so that you can follow along, and I'll explain everything I did. Let me show you really quick before we do that. Let me take you back and show you the final product so you can kind of see what it is that we are. I sent out an email earlier that showed this, but this is where I took the leaves, laid them out, watercolored, just in a very fun, relaxing. And then I went through my creative reminders and started finding phrases to put on them. And this is a fun way to journal. It's a fun way to write things. You can, a creative way to do that. So let me get started. As I explained to you, this is a 5x7. And I always like to typically, tape down my paper. And I do that because it gives, well, number one, I love that crisp edge that you can get at the end. The other reasons is if I go to frame it, then I can put it into a frame and it'll give that little bit of edge that you need. And I'm sorry, this will come back into focus in a second. My hands are making that camera go wacko. But that little bit of an edge will give you the giveaway that you need when you put it in a frame. So those are the main reasons that I tape off and that I go ahead and put something around my paper. And primarily, I personally, it's a real personal preference, but I like that crisp edge when I'm done, and it's so surprising. Lynn, welcome. Thank you. Okay, now I understand. You see, you tagged her, and I'm not really savvy on a lot of these techniques here, so I apologize. But tell me where you're from, Lynn. I'm glad you're here. Thank you, Joni, for inviting her. Sandra here is from Virginia, and it's good to have her. And so welcome everybody that's here. We'll just finish taping this down. Now I use washi tape and that I don't want to just, that may not be the best thing to use, but it works for me. I'm going to go ahead and place down these leaves. I just pulled them out of the backyard. It's a great way to, if you don't feel, you could always draw out your leaves. By all means, if you feel comfortable drawing, but if you don't feel comfortable, I wanted to do this for those people that talk themselves out of being creative because they say to themselves, oh, gee, I cannot draw. So they always talk themselves out of it. And we're not going to talk ourselves out of this today, right? I'm giving you no leeway to talk yourself out of. You could use any kind of a image that you want. Lynn, you're from Phoenix. I am glad you're here. Grandparents, I had some grandparents that lived in Phoenix. It's a wonderful place to be. Anyway, if you don't want to do leaves, draw out something else or trace out something else that you want. I'm going to go ahead and lay these out and put them, I'm just going to use 3 of them and just lay them randomly down so that I fill the page, primarily all of it, but I love these leaves. I love the big 5-star leaf. I'm here in Texas, and the leaves here are not at all like the leaves up in the northern states or out in the west. Originally from Utah, and the leaves, beautiful leaves in that there. Yes, it's finally nice here. It's been brutally hot until a couple of weeks ago. Lynn, I understand. I understand. That is a place that's extremely hot. And so I'm glad it's cooled down a little bit for you. And I bet the best time is in the winter, isn't it? Well, everybody else is freezing their tails off. Then it's really beautiful. Um, I'm going to go ahead and put the small one down here at the bottom. And what you'll see me do here in a few minutes is I kind of had the idea as I was looking at this of, where the leaves overlap. You could take that and create where if you do one leaf yellow, one leaf orange, then or red, then where they overlap, you could make that orange. And I've kind of had that idea there to start with, and I thought, well, that'd be kind of fun to do. But then I changed my mind midway. 73 degrees right now. Perfect weather. Congratulations. That's perfect weather. All right. So I get this laid out and just kind of look it over and make sure that you're happy with the design of what you have. And like I said, I thought to myself, well, I want this to overlap a little bit more. And so you'll see me sit here erasing, but let me caution you, if you aren't familiar, I know many of you are already very familiar with this, but those that are new and maybe trying something out new, when don't erase hard. Actually, they suggest don't erase at all, but I tend to go very lightly on my watercolor paper. If I go back to erase something, I'll do it very lightly and carefully, because what you'll end up doing is you lift up that tooth of the paper, and then when you go to paint, it just doesn't work well. It won't work at all. Grab your watercolors, what you like to use. If you don't have watercolors, you can always dilute down the acrylics, but you're looking for something that's going to give you that more translucent look rather than opaque. And but there again, you're the artist. So if you want it to be opaque, you're the artist. You have free reins to do it however you'd like to do it. Let me know what's your favorite medium to use. Do you like watercolor? Acrylics? I'm working on a fun. I'm excited to create it for the group. It's going to be a Santa Claus next month. I'm excited to create it, but I have to tell you, I've been putting it off now for 2 days because there's just a part of me that's a little bit nervous about doing it. I don't know. Nervous isn't the word, but I have to be in kind of a quieter space where I can actually think. I've got several different kinds of watercolors here. I love the little tiny packs, the ones that you can pack around, throw in a case. I'm just going to use this brush the whole time. I'm not going to change around to different ones. This is a pretty good size brush. Let me see if I've got a size here for you. It is a size 18. It's a Royal and Lambert. And it'll hold a lot of water and pigment. And usually when I watercolor, I go for that. I love the way that they will mix and mingle with each other. So I'll lay the paint down and then hope that it will blend with another, that it'll merge into each other. And of course, if you've watercolored, that you can keep it from doing that. If that isn't something that you like, you can stop that by watercolor only goes where the water is. And so if you don't have water in a certain area, it's not going to go over there unless you purposely put it there. It's not going to blend over there. This light is, the reflection is not very good. So I'm trying to get this moved for you so you got a better See if we get that. Keep that from glaring there. Anyway, the paint won't go, the watercolor will not go in the areas that are not already wet. And so if you don't like that kind of flowering over that where they bleed together and that, then make sure it's dry. Work on a different area on your paper and let that dry a little bit, or do what I do. I always pull out my heat gun. I dry everything because I get impatient and I want it to dry fast. Does anybody else get impatient? Or are you a patient? You're a patient type and you go ahead and you let it all dry and then work on it again. This one I'm going to use, we'll do a red leaf on this one. And when as I pick, I'm looking at the watercolor palette that's over on the right side. I start with one that's on the left and it's a little bit blue. It's more of a blue red. Well, not blue red. It's a red that has the blue undertones. It's a cool red. And so I changed my mind midstream here and I head over to my other palette that has, see that? The warm red. And just mix that in a little bit. It's an interesting fact here, ladies. I don't know if you already know this, but men are drawn to the warm red. Women typically, not all the time, I'm not saying it's 100%, but typically are drawn to the red that has the blue undertone. And so it's kind of interesting. Their eye picks up and really gravitates as far as the male, typically the warm red. And I'm just laying this in here. Nothing fancy, nothing hard. This isn't going to be a really difficult project by any means. When you're doing these little projects, I encourage you to just keep them simple. And for me personally, I think laying that color down, letting that, just starting to put those layers and playing with it back and forth is so relaxing. I just get lost in doing that. Had anybody heard that little color fact before about the differences of how men see red and women see? Has anybody else heard that before? Years ago, many years ago, telling my age here, I taught a design class at a junior college, and it was an interior design class. And so it was the basics. And as I would go through and I would show them the different colors. And see, right now, what I'm doing is I'm letting that red and yellow blend into each other and just working it back and forth and just letting it do its thing. Anyway, I would always pull out, I went ahead and I purchased some fabric to illustrate so they could see the difference. And I would hold up the one red first, whichever one, it didn't matter, but I'd ask them, what color is this red? And then I would show them the other red, and it would inevitably always blow their mind because, when you think red, you don't realize how many truly different shades of red there are. But just like any other color, there's so many different shades. Let's add a little bit of green to this. I always go to my olive green. And I'm going to dry that, get some of that water out of there because I'm starting to bubble the paper. I'm getting so much water to it. We've got someone else joining us. Thank you for coming. Go ahead and just tell us where you're from. Has, has anybody, oh my gosh, this is telling on myself, but I got busy one time just kind of not paying attention to, has anybody ever burned their paper? If they use a heat gun, you may not use a heat gun, but if you use a heat gun, has anybody ever kind of scorched their paper? I want you to see that green, just that, um, how that looks on that paper. Let's go back in and emphasize this yellow again. Put another layer on top. And this time what I'm going to actually use is I'm using the yellow green. And, when if you look at it in the container, the packet, whatever, the little box, and it's a lime green, but you always put it down on that paper, don't you? And it's more yellow. So let's add some of I call it an avocado green, and just play with that and let those kind of blend together. What we're doing now is we're adding some texture to our work so it gives it some interest and it doesn't just look flat. So just throw that green in a little bit here and there. You use a personal fan, not wild about heating paints. That's true. Just touching the surface a little bit, not putting hardly any pressure on that brush. Let it migrate and go in the direction it wants to go. And if you think about, the leaves have all the multicolors in them anyway, don't they? I'm using the very fine tip of this brush, but you may want to use a small, excuse me, a small round, and putting in the veins. Hi, Joanne. You're here. It's good to have you. Yes, the veins. I'm putting this in with a very dark blue. It's a very, very, very dark. It's like this midnight. It's almost a black. And I'm not pressing hard. I'm just skimming over the surface. And I want this, I like irregularity, regular areas like this, where it's thick in some areas, thins in others. And that's just a personal taste of mine. Just hold your brush lightly and just glide it over the top. There we go. Now for the decision of my third leaf. What colors to actually do that in. There's a part of me that wants to do it in a turquoise, but I'm going to do it in this color here that's a rusty color. It's a beautiful kind of coppery rust color. Joanne, you've had a very busy day, huh? Yes. Well, this project is a very quick and simple one, so you don't have to have a lot of time to paint this. And of course, I tend to, when I paint slow. Simply because I'm just really wanting to relax as I'm doing it. Let's go back and kind of add just a little bits here and there and start building the layers. If you're not getting the layered effect that you want, if it's just kind of blending all together, step away from it, let it dry a minute, and then come back to it. And this color, this is actually another, it is a dark, dark, dark blue. It's out of my other palette, but it's very similar to what I was using a few minutes ago to do the veins. And I'm working at creating a little contrast now. And I could take a paper towel and I could lift that off, but I'm using the force of the air. I'm just plain. This is totally just plain. I would not do this on one of my projects but I'm experimenting, just playing with it myself. And so I'm letting the force of the air move that paint. And isn't it relaxing? Those autumn colors, so relaxing. It's probably nice to sit for a minute, Joanne, isn't it, after such a busy day, to just let yourself breathe and thanks, Lynn. Yes, plain is good. uh, Coming back in with this now, I pulled in a blue green that's a deeper. So it's got a little bit of a turquoise look to it. Uh, but it's not a light turquoise. Just adding that and playing with the colors. You know, they say, I don't know where I read this, but they say that we tend to hold our breath a lot. And I find that when I paint, this is a great time that I can, because I'm not really, I mean, I'm paying attention to what I'm doing, but because I am just playing with the colors and experimenting, then really do focus on just making sure I'm breathing because as you go through your day and you're super busy. I mean, we're breathing. I'm not saying we're not breathing, but we don't take those deep breaths, those really good breaths that are healthy for us. And I find that when I'm painting, I can focus a little bit more on my own personal health and just taking care of that. For those few that are here, this will probably be on the replay. I don't talk about this very much at all. My members know about this a little bit, but I don't talk about it. I really uh, love and appreciate the ability, the opportunity to create and to take time to create and make art. We've got an adult son who is mentally ill, and so he lives with us. I don't have to physically take care of him other than prepare the food, but there's a lot of challenge with that, and with that comes a lot of stress because it is not a normal situation, and every day is a new different day. We're experiencing different things, and it can create a lot of stress. And so I am so grateful just to be able to take some time, you know 30 minutes, an hour. I don't spend a lot of time. I do spend a lot of time when I'm creating in that for my art club, my art group. But for myself, I'll give myself an hour or something and just do what I feel like doing. And today I just felt like adding some purple. I know this is a random color to be adding in here, but it was calling to me. And it's more of a red violet. It's than a deeper purple, but there again, just playing and layering on this color and starting to work on our background here. And we're just about finished. We're going to finish up our background, then I'll get this dried really, really well. And then I'm going to go back in and start pulling a few statements from the creative reminders and put those in here and play with those. I love it when it takes off and it just starts doing its little thing and flowing. I want some areas to be soft and quiet and other areas to be loud and full of vibrant color. Pulling that off and spreading it down a little ways. And I'll clean this brush out. You could just leave it like so. I've got a little bit of this violet on the yellow here. So I'm going to scrub that off a little bit. Yes, Joanne, it's kind of an unexpected, isn't it? You're gonna drop back in. Now this is not the dark, dark midnight blue, but it's a really pretty blue. And I'm good. Let's just tap that in a few spaces here and just a FYI, the washi tape that I use, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't always hold. Sometimes the paint will migrate, the colors will migrate underneath. Most of the time it doesn't, but I wouldn't use this on a fine piece of, something that I'm painting for someone else, or I'm going to be putting in a show or anything. And I picked the blue because, the complement of the yellow would be going towards that violet, and the blue would be the complement for the orange. So that's why I'm pulling those colors in. I almost forgot this little leaf down here needs it to have the vein put in there. You could use a watercolor pencil to do this. If you didn't want to use your brush, you could also use, I've got charcoal pencils that have a really nice tip on them. I probably wouldn't use those. I would probably use, if I wasn't doing this, I would use the watercolor pencil, and I would do it very thin and then come back over the top and activate it with water so that it would blur itself just a little bit, but make it a little more permanent and pronounced, so that you could see it. Jenny says she's back. Her husband came in from. I'm so glad you stopped though and visited with him. That's just fine, Jody. This is going to go the replays. Those that are new here, those that maybe aren't new but didn't know this. I opened up a place in my little art village, which you can easily get to the little art village by going. Just type in www.myartsisters.com. It's what I use for the group. For them to get to the library and all the information they need. But I'm got a space in there called the Community Center, and I'm posting these replays in there. It's easier for people to find. Interesting enough, I just had this thing. I don't know if it's the rebel in me. I think I was burnt a couple of too many times about 2 years ago, 3 years ago with well, I don't want to say it, but the social media that starts with an F, because I'm using them right now, so I don't want to put that out there. But anyway, there was a message up there that for us, as we're streaming, that they're having challenges. The company that streams this into different locations is having a challenge with that particular company to get the streaming, which means basically what I'm saying is I have this going into, 5 different locations, 5 different locations right now. And I actually have it streaming on my website. It is in the community center, and I just started that tonight. I thought, why not? Why not do that? I had someone last week say to me that they couldn't find it. They're like, "Oh my goodness, I went to the and I couldn't find it." And I think sometimes in our pages, in our Facebook pages and different areas like that, it's good, but it's hard to find things. And so anyway, if you can't find it or you get lost, you'll find it there. Replays are in the community center. Um, I also have another location in there where I started doing a few videos in that for my group that were guided imageries. And I have those posted in there that I've shared some of those with the public too, that they can see and listen to and actually work along and do that. So does Facebook allow you to set up reminders for your followers? Typically, now, what people are having to do, somebody else that has more knowledge on that, I don't know the answer to that, truthfully. I've not ever seen that. It does come out like you'll get a little notice if it's considered an event or something. It'll show, but usually what people will do is they purchase um, a something where they can send out a text message and send it that way. So what I did here is I wanted to add just a little bit of the orange in here, and I decided to finish it off with one of my palettes has this beautiful gold, and it's just a really lovely warm yellow. And so I'm going to just finish off this end of it, this side, with a little bit of that. And then I'll dry it and we'll get busy starting to write out some statements. It's fun to go in and lift that paint in some areas and drop a little bit more in to darken, add another layer. What I suggest that you do for yours, if you are making one, is to, well, number one, you can write down just your own personal thoughts on the leaves. As I start doing this, you can put down your own personal thoughts. Or I found a really beautiful Thanksgiving. It's called a Thanksgiving blessing. And I did it this past Monday with our group as a piece of art. We wrote it in there and then put the artwork over the top. But you could find there's many out there, Thanksgiving blessings, and use the words and the statements from those. Gratitudes, absolutely. That would be wonderful to write down your gratitudes. It's kind of buckled a little bit on me, as you can see. I don't know if you can even tell, but what I've done is I've sprayed a little bit on the back, some water. Sometimes when your paper buckles, and I got too much water on it, but you can straighten it out by heating up the back of it. So I'm heating it just a little bit. And we'll blot it with a paper towel to just kind of for time's sake to move this along. And I love the colors. I'm happy with those colors. It's time for the big reveal. This is such a treat for me when I pull this tape off. It's such just gratifying to see that stark contrast of the white and then, that edging around there. And so far, so good. No bleeding under the tape. All right, perfect. Now, what you could use a fine tip ballpoint pen if you want. Um, I started to use a ballpoint pen, and you'll see that. But then I decided, and I thought, oh, I'll do a color or something. But I just went back and started using the microns. And what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to get in here and get into the library and find the statements I want. The first one that I came across as I was looking at it, and it popped out. I just usually kind of glance through all of them. They're all different things. This was originally created. Let me take a minute while I'm looking and just to explain. I created this, good grief, 20 years ago. 20 years ago. I did a lot of working with individuals to help change perceptions, stresses, anxieties, different things that they were working with. Did that for a long time. And so this library, and I've used this for myself personally all the time, because what you're doing is, and this is why gratitude thoughts are so important. Scripture is important. I don't even want to classify scripture though in with this. I think that scripture's on a whole different level. And but this is to create some kind of an anchor thought that you can get your mind to focus in on. And that thought will stop. Stress is simply a reaction, your body's reaction to worry. So if you've got a worry going on, you've got any kind of a concern, you may not even be aware that you have it. It just is something that's always in the back of your mind. And that's creating stress in your body. And so an anchor thought, putting something in there will stop that, and it will help you counteract it very easily. And just like the simple saying, let go, let God. That's a beautiful saying. That's just a good reminder. There was this, I cannot say it correctly. You can look it up on the internet though. From France, a doctor, and was working with ill patients. And the statement was, in every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. And so you're just putting in those thoughts, and you're really focusing in and anchoring on those. And so what I came across and I found is a statement that I thought is important for all of us, because there's days that we feel like we just don't matter. And so one of the statements, the first one I put down is, I matter and feel a sense of importance. And I wrote that one in there. And then the second one is, my actions do matter to others. My third one is, I am enthusiastic about my life and what I have to offer. That's such a beautiful one to focus in on. I am enthusiastic about my life. Go ahead and type in if you've got a favorite statement that maybe, that's been very powerful for you. I am enthusiastic about my life and what I have to offer. You could just stop with 3 right there, but I've gone on and I added more and scrolled through, pulled out bits and pieces from other ones. This one I love this statement right here. I'm taking the beauty from every experience. So what the meaning behind that basically is, there's numerous experiences every day. But even the ones that aren't so great, there is usually something we can pull from it that we can learn from, we can glean from, we can use something, grow from, anything. And so uh, we choose to take the beauty from every experience. This one, I want to go ahead and just follow the outside of this leaf. I think it'll be kind of fun to just write along this. And this one is life's lessons often prepare me in ways that contribute to my learning and helps me to have compassion. And the rest of that sentence is to have compassion for other people's experiences. But I just stopped at compassion. That's kind of a fun way to go on the outside of the leaf and just follow those lines. Let's see what else. We're going to do the outside of this one, and it's feeling relaxed and looking up toward heaven for peace. That's a great one to sit and ponder on, to just kind of keep in your, keep in your mind. I'm feeling relaxed and looking up toward heaven for peace. All right, I'm going to come back. I added a few more to those, and I'm going to read those to you for just a quick second. And then thank you if you want to get off and head off. Thanks for coming today. Release the tendency to choose to go unnoticed or to be small. Feeling safe to grow and share. Let's see. And then the last one I put on here is I am living every moment and not feeling and not taking life for granted. Can't read my own writing. Anyway, that's a fun journal page. It's a great way to go ahead and do things, create something for your journal and that. So I encourage you to do this, and love to see what you do. And thank you for showing up here for me today and for being a part of this. It's great having you. This will be posted in the community center, like I said. So go to www.myartsisters.com, click on the community center, and you'll find this one and all the other replays in there that I have, and you'll be able to see this again. So thank you guys for showing up here tonight, and you have a wonderful, wonderful time. Thanks, Sandra, for coming. Joni, Joanne, good to have you here. It's good to have you all. Thanks so much for coming. And those that haven't commented or said anything, I'm glad you're here. I can see I've got many others. So it's good to have you, and I will see you again next week. All right. Have a great rest of the week, y'all. Talk with you soon again.